You ever notice in video games, there's not just one person you need to battle with. There's a whole host of enemies out there. That's because having lots of things to look at and deal with makes the game a lot more challenging and interesting. And that's what we need to do in our games. Instead of just a single enemy or somebody you have to deal with, we can have a whole host or horde of enemies. But this, of course, is complicated, so we need to learn how to program. Okay, in order for us to learn about how to create a horde game, let's go back and start with our first challenge, the chasing game. As you remember, we've got a simple chaser and chasee relationship here. So we want to convert this into something a little bit more challenging. Let's take a look at a variation on this. Okay, here's almost the same game with a slight modification. And as you can see here, instead of just one bug, we now have dozens of bugs trying to chase us down here. So this is what we mean by a horde. And it's quite simple to do this using something called the cloning tool. Okay, here's our basic chase game script. As you can see, we've got the cat here and his arrow key scripts, and he receives a message when he gets caught. With the beetle here, we have a very simple script where they're going to do a forever loop and chase the cat. Okay, so in order to turn this into a horde game, we have to do a couple of things. First of all, we need our cloning tools. Cloning is at the very bottom of the control, and you can see there's actually a clone script start as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to break up this script, and we're going to take this piece that says create a clone of myself and put that on the green flag. And then the other script we're going to top with when I start as a clone. First of all, we can see how this works. It does more or less what you'd expect. It creates a copy of the beetle and then starts the game, and it follows all the same instructions as before. Now, of course, what we want to do is create lots of bugs. And so the way that we do this is we can simply create a repeat here and repeat this clone command. And so I can create lots of clones. So if I do that, you can see immediately I've got lots of clones. But this is not exactly what we have in mind. As you can see, all the clones are on top of each other doing the exact same thing, as they should, because we told them to do that. And notice when I click the stop, they all disappear. Clones are sort of temporary sprites. They're not quite the same as the original because they can disappear. And you'll notice at the bottom, we've got a delete this clone block, so that will allow us to delete the clone. So when they catch the cat, what we can do is simply have the clone delete itself, and then it will be gone. So that way we can control the number of clones that are on the screen at any time. Okay, so how do we spread these clones out? Well, there's a couple of ways that we can do this. One is by deciding when we create the new clone. So we might have a little wait here, and so we can spread our clones out that way. So it will create lots of clones, but at different times. And you can see they're all kind of doing slightly different things here. That's kind of an interesting effect. Okay, another way that we can spread the clones out is in where we place them. As you can see in the script where it says to start as a clone, it says go to this particular spot to start. And that's great. But what we can do is we can add some randomness to this. Under operators, there's a random number generator called pick random. And what I can do is I'll just put that in there for the location where I want my clone to start. And as you remember, our screen goes from X being about 240 to negative 240. So we can spread those out across the screen. And so I'll just pick some random number for my X coordinate. My Y coordinate, let's go up to the top of the screen here. Make sure they don't land right on top of the cat to begin with. Alright, let's take a look at this. Now, as you can see, I've got lots and lots of bugs, and they're all doing slightly different things at different times, and so it's much more like the horde action. Look out. Cool. A couple of the things we might want to do. We said we would delete the clone at the end. We could also maybe, if we have lots and lots of these bugs, maybe they're a little bit too big, so we can change our size under looks. There's a set size button. Maybe 100%. Another thing that people like to do a lot is maybe have the original sprite be hidden, right? And then then the clones, once they're ready, you have to make sure you show each of the clones so that they can be seen. So that's the basic idea of how you can create a horde by using the clone tool. I just want to point out this is an important idea in computer programming. What we're doing here is we're creating a whole class of objects, the bugs, with a single script using that clone tool, and they're each going to follow the same script but be doing slightly different things because of how we use the random number. And so this is an example of abstraction in programming, and so that's an important idea that it's a little complicated at first, but I think you'll get the hang of it. So that is the basics of how to use the cloning tool. The rest is up to you and your imagination. We'll add a hints video in a couple of days with some other ideas, but good luck. We look forward to seeing what you create.